Good day, my name is Pablo Montreuil from the Sparks Advisor Group, and I'd like to welcome you to self-employment pilot projects for persons with disability in New Brunswick. Personally, I have a lot of friends and family members who have different types of disabilities, and when I was offered the opportunity to work on this project, I said yes right away. And I was lucky. I surrounded myself with key people. You will see them, they'll introduce themselves, and that are not only skills, but they also cared for a project like this. And it helped us create the environment or the ecosystem for persons with disability to, be entrepreneurs and start their own business and achieve financial independence through that means. So congratulations and thank you for joining this pilot project and having the courage to try. I'm really happy to be part of this, and I think one day we can look back and all be proud of what we've accomplished here today. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Jean-François Saunier. I'm a Project Development and Research Officer for the New Brunswick Association of Community Business Development Corporations. In other words, I work for the CBDCs in the province. Our network has 10 CBDC offices across New Brunswick. This is where to go for people who want to apply for the Self-Employment Benefit Program, simply named the ECB program. Our network is proud to be linked to this project, which offers a component for people living with a disability. Starting its own business requires preparation. Already, you have met your ECB coordinator. Your coordinator has all the necessary expertise to support you in starting your business. You have worked very hard to get where you are at this stage. I say congratulations. You did everything that your ECB coordinator asked you for the approval of your project. It is now time to embark on this great entrepreneurial journey. Now, take these training modules as a wonderful starting point. Too many new entrepreneurs are not taking this time. I agree, you now have your business plan. At the same time, these modules will take you even further to help you anticipate the challenges ahead. These modules are the right path to a long-term success of your business. Think about it. Too few entrepreneurs take this time. You had that amount of time available. Make the most of it. So, I congratulate you again for what you have accomplished so far.
Hi, my name is Hugo Saint-Pierre. I'm from Puckmush, but I live now in Moncton. I have a motorcycle accident 15 years ago. That's why I'm in a wheelchair now. And I started my own business. I had two little businesses. I do snowmobile and I also do construction and renovation. I started my own business because it gave me motivation and it's also give me independent financially. And at the same time, I thought that because I'm working for myself, I don't have to work for somebody. That was a plus. And also give me motivation to show people that even if you have an handicap, you could start your own business. If I have a word to say to you and you have an handicap and you really want to start your own business, you could do it.
Hi, and welcome to this module. Now, this is the first module in this course. And we're going to cover really what it is to be an entrepreneur in these modules. Now, maybe you've seen someone, a neighbor, a friend, or someone in your family that has started a business and it's going on well. And you say to yourself, well, I'd like to do that too. Well, that's good. Now, we are here to help. Now, in this course, we'll cover many things that will help you to become an entrepreneur, to start your business. Now, I'd like to ask you this question. Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Is it for financial freedom? Is it to have more time to do other things? Is it a passion you have to do something and you like to try to do it? Now, is there something stopping you from doing it? Like maybe you've been thinking about it for many years and you say, I'll do it later on. Well, what has stopped you to become an entrepreneur? Is it the time right now for you to become an entrepreneur, to start your own business? Now, I would like you to take a piece of paper and take 5 to 10 minutes and really write down what you would like to do. What type of business would you like to have? And ask yourself also this question, is it time for me now? If it's yes, well, say why on that piece of paper. Now also, maybe note some things that have been stopping you to be an entrepreneur in the past few months or past few years. Things, write clearly what has stopped you to be an entrepreneur. So take time, take 5 to 10 minutes and write it down. Now this will be helpful for the remainder of this course, especially when you'll be doing your business plan. So again, welcome to this course, and I hope it'll be good for you. Hi, and welcome to Module 1B. Now the question that I'm asking is, are we born entrepreneurs or do we become an entrepreneur? Now, that's a great question, and it's a question that I don't presume to have the answer. It's almost like the same question that has been asked for centuries. Are we born the way we are, or do we become who we are? The nature-nurture debate. Now, it's the same thing with an entrepreneur, and many have debated on that. But I know there's some people that are more prone to be an entrepreneur. For instance, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you like adventure? Do you like change? Do you like risk? Now, if you've answered yes, well, maybe you are an entrepreneur. If you don't like an adventure, if you don't like risk, well, maybe entrepreneurship is not for you. Because we do need to have the sense of adventure when we become an entrepreneur. And how are you with risk? Like, does it scare you? Some people, they don't want any risk in their lives at all. Like, they won't jump out of a plane for sure with a parachute, or they've always questioned everything. Now, if you don't like risk, well, maybe entrepreneurship is not for you also, because it is a risky business. Now, by being knowledgeable in some areas, of course, you'll be able to mitigate some of the risk. But there is risk by being an entrepreneur. Now, another question I'd like to ask you, do you have any business knowledge, like basic business knowledge, let's say in sales or in marketing, and of course in finance? Now, those things are all important. Maybe you're new to all this. Maybe you don't have any experience in sales or marketing or finance. In this course, we'll give you some tips and some knowledge on sales, marketing, and finance in other areas. But it's, of course, it'll help you if you have a basic knowledge, let's say, of accounting. Now, the last question I'd like to ask you is, do you have friends or family behind you in this new adventure? Because that'll help. If you do have people with you in this new adventure, it'll help you in your project. Now, some of the questions I've asked is, are we born or do we become entrepreneurs? Are you able to be an entrepreneur? Do you like the adventure? Do you like risk? And also, I asked, do you have any prior business knowledge, let's say in sales, marketing, or finance? And the last question we talked about is, do you have friends and family supporting you in this new adventure? Now, have you ever asked yourself this question? Where does the word entrepreneur come from? Now, the origin of the name actually comes from France, back in the 17th century. Now, when someone would say to someone else that he wanted to be an entrepreneur, in French, we would say, je veux entreprendre quelque chose. I want to do something. But in that word itself, back in the 17th century, back in France, it actually meant that I was taking a risk. So let's say you would say that to your friend, I want to be an entrepreneur. Automatically, he would think that you are taking some type of risk. You want to do something that is risky. So that's the origin of the name. Entrepreneur comes from the word risk. Now, what does an entrepreneur do, really, in essence? What does he do? Well, actually, what he does is he's got an idea, first of all, to do something. And he's got some resources, or he has an ability to get some resources to do something. For instance, let's say I use example of someone that has a field. So he's got a field, and there's nothing done with it. So he says, well, I'm going to try to find some seeds, and I'm going to try to plant something that people want. So he does a bit of research. What do people want in this area? Do they want this type of fruit or vegetable? So he gets the seeds, plants it in his field, but of course he needs some people to work for him. So he needs human resources. So he's got the field itself. He's got the seed, or he finds a way to get the seed, and then he finds some employees, and they work the field. But one thing he does need also, apart from the field, the seeds, and the people, he also needs some financial resources, right? Because he needs to pay his employees until the harvest is there, because it'll take a while. And also he needs some money to buy, let's say, manure or seed or something. So he needs financial resources. So the entrepreneur is like a cook that does a recipe. So he's got the field, the seeds, the people, the finance, the idea, and he does something with it. And at the end, really what he wants is a product. In this illustration, he actually wants some produce. And also he wants to make some profit. But another thing, an entrepreneur, not only he is able to put these things together, but also an entrepreneur is someone who is a visionary. Because if ever you planted a seed before, you know that you plant the seed and it takes a while before the seed actually becomes something. So an entrepreneur is a visionary who can see really something in the future by doing an action today and getting something in the future. Also, another thing, an entrepreneur is someone that is very independent. So he does things because he wants to do them. So I don't know if this actually represents you. I don't know if you can relate to this story. Do you have an idea? Do you have a capability of putting things together? Are you someone who is a visionary? Are you someone who is independent? Now, those are some of the characteristics. They're not the only ones, but those are some of the characteristics of an entrepreneur. Somebody who likes risk, who's a visionary, and is also independent. Now, have you ever asked yourself this question? Where does the word entrepreneur come from? Now, the origin of the name actually comes from France, back in the 17th century. Now, when someone would say to someone else that he wanted to be an entrepreneur, in French, we would say, je veux entreprendre quelque chose. I want to do something. But in that word itself, back in the 17th century, back in France, it actually meant that I was taking a risk. So let's say you would say that to your friend, I want to be an entrepreneur. Automatically, he would think that you are taking some type of risk. You want to do something that is risky. So that's the origin of the name. Entrepreneur comes from the word risk. Now, what does an entrepreneur do, really, in essence? What does he do? Well, actually, what he does is he's got an idea, first of all, to do something. And he's got some resources, or he has an ability to get some resources to do something. For instance, let's say I use example of someone that has a field. So he's got a field, and there's nothing done with it. So he says, well, I'm going to try to find some seeds and I'm going to try to plant something that people want. So he does a bit of research. What do people want in this area? Do they want this type of fruit or vegetable? So he gets the seeds, plants it in his field, but of course he needs some people to work for him. So he needs human resources. So he's got the field itself. He's got the seed, or he finds a way to get the seed, and then he finds some employees, and they work the field. But one thing he does need also, apart from the field, the seeds, and the people, he also needs some financial resources, right? Because he needs to pay his employees until the harvest is there, because it'll take a while. And also he needs some money to buy, let's say, manure or seed or something. So he needs financial resources. So the entrepreneur is like a cook that does a recipe. So he's got the field, the seeds, the people, the finance, the idea, and he does something with it. And at the end, really what he wants is a product. In this illustration, he actually wants some produce. And also he wants to make some profit. But another thing, an entrepreneur, not only he is able to put these things together, but also an entrepreneur is someone who is a visionary. Because if ever you planted a seed before, you know that you plant the seed and it takes a while before the seed actually becomes something. So an entrepreneur is a visionary who can see really something in the future by doing an action today and getting something in the future. Also, another thing, an entrepreneur is someone that is very independent. So he does things because he wants to do them. So I don't know if this actually represents you. I don't know if you can relate to this story. Do you have an idea? Do you have a capability of putting things together? Are you someone who is a visionary? Are you someone who is independent? Now, those are some of the characteristics. They're not the only ones, but those are some of the characteristics of an entrepreneur. Somebody who likes risk, who's a visionary, and is also independent. Welcome to Module 1D, the challenges of the entrepreneur. Now, it's a very important module, so I hope you'll take some notes. Now, the first challenge I would like to talk about is actually the lack of confidence that someone has to be an entrepreneur. We're oftentimes asking this question, am I able to be an entrepreneur? Because it is a very daunting thing to do, to start something new, and maybe you'll have to quit your job or stop doing something in order for you to concentrate on your new business. So it is quite daunting. So you ask yourself, am I good enough? Am I going to be able to do it? Another challenge is actually the lack of market understanding. So really understanding your market. Sometimes we overestimate our market. So we think that, oh, I got the best product or service since the toaster, and everybody's going to buy it. Well, really? Everybody's going to buy it? Or sometimes also we underestimate actually the market. There's actually more people interested in our product. So really understanding your market is very, very important. And that's one thing, sometimes it's a difficulty for a new entrepreneur. Another thing is actually time management. If you know someone who is an entrepreneur who's working for himself at the moment, you know that he's actually wearing many hats. At one point in time, he's a salesman. Then a few hours after that, he's the accountant. It's very hard to juggle all these things. So time management in regards to sales, putting some time to understand the market, maybe developing a new product or service, or maybe doing your books, your accounting. So one of the challenges and difficulties of a new entrepreneur is actually managing all that. Asking yourself, what should be done first? What should I put my time on? Another thing that's very, very, very important is actually the work-life balance. So managing that. Sometimes a new business, most of the time, actually, you need a lot of time to start it in order for it to start generating some money. And sometimes the other things in life, your family, your friends, or your pastime, you just put them aside for time. You got to be very careful with that. Make sure you manage your business, but also to the side your family and your friends. Another thing is debt management. Managing your debt as a new business, sometimes you need to buy products, machines, and you got to be very, very careful not to put yourself too much in debt. I would be very, very careful at the beginning not to incur a lot of debt. Now, the last challenge I would like to talk about, I would like to call it the Fox syndrome. Now, I don't know if you relate with this, but a lot of people who are entrepreneur in themselves. Now, one of the difficulties is that they start something and then another opportunity arises or somebody talks to them about this or that. Say, oh, well, I could do that also. I could add that product or that service, and then you jump here, you jump there, without really focusing on one product or service. So be very, very careful. Make sure that you focus on the right product or service or what you should be doing. And one thing you'll have to learn is actually how to say no. It's very, very important. A lot of people, I'm like that. I say yes to many, many, many things. My family knows me for that. But as time goes by, I'm actually learning a bit how to say no to certain opportunities. It's not that it's a bad opportunity, but it's not for now. So that's one of the difficulties or challenges of an entrepreneur, which I call the Fox syndrome. So Fox kind of goes everywhere, right? So what we've looked at in this module is some of the challenges, like the lack of confidence of an entrepreneur, the lack of market understanding really what your market is, time management skills, try to make sure everything is done right at the right time, work-life balance, that's very important, so managing that, debt management, and the last one we talked about is what I call the Fox syndrome. Hi, and welcome to Module 2. And in the first modules, we considered what is an entrepreneur, and we've asked ourselves this question, are we an entrepreneur, or what makes a good entrepreneur? Now, in this module, we're going to start putting your dreams on paper. So really, we're going from dreams to reality. So you've asked yourself the question maybe, so what's my next step? Okay, yes, I want to start a business. I feel that I'm an entrepreneur. Now, what do I do now? So that's what we're going to consider in the next few modules. So like I said, we're going to put dreams into reality. Now, the first thing, what I really want you to do, I know I've asked you in one of the first modules to do this, but you really, really need to put your idea on paper. Now, why is that so important? Well, first of all, you need to identify, well, okay, what is going to be my product? What's going to look like? My service? What clientele am I going to try to get? What market am I going to try to get in? What do I really want to do? So you really need to take time and put this on paper. Now, this is the beginning of your business plan, which we'll talk about later on. Putting your ideas on paper. So this really, really needs to be done. Now, when we put ideas on paper, it helps us to be clear. I've met a lot of people and I ask them, or they come to me and they say, hey, I have a nice business idea. Okay. Then I say, well, can you explain it to me? And they have a difficulty explaining to me what they want to do. It's because they had not spent the time to put their ideas on paper or clearly identify, this is what I want to do. I want to do this type of product or this service. I want to go and try to get this market. They haven't taken the time to do that. Their idea maybe is great, but they can't tell it to no one. They can't really explain it clearly. So this exercise will help you to do just that, to be specific. And also, it'll help you to focus on a certain thing and it'll help you to say no to something else. So that is very, very important when we write things on paper. It helps us to focus and also to say no to certain opportunities. Like I mentioned before, some opportunities are great, but it's not the time for you to go and do that thing or to get that opportunity. And also, putting it on paper actually helps you to avoid failure. So let's say you're doing the exercise and you're putting things on paper and then you realize, well, maybe I'm not fit to be an entrepreneur. Well, that's fine. Like, that's good. Somebody else will be an entrepreneur. Because putting it on paper does not cost you anything. Maybe a bit of time, but doesn't cost you any money. So by putting it on paper, it'll help you avoid failures. Now, another thing too, as you're doing this exercise, it might force you to seek help from someone else. Because maybe you're at a crossroad, or you're at a certain position that you don't know what to do, or how are you going to do it? Well, maybe it'll force you to get some help, which is very good when you're starting a new business. Now, once this is all done, it's on paper or on your computer, those elements will actually help you to do your business plan, which we're going to talk about later on. But it starts right here. This step is very, very, very important. So if I ask you the question, why is it important for you to put these things on paper? Well, it's actually the beginning of putting dreams into reality. It'll actually help you to be clear, concise, and specific. And you'll be able to focus, be able to say no to certain things. It'll help you to avoid failures. And also, it might help you to realize that you need help in a certain area. Maybe it's not your area of expertise, maybe accounting or marketing or sales or product development or something. Maybe it'll force you to seek out some help from someone to clarify your ideas. And also, all of what you're doing here will actually be a basis to do your business plan. Hi, and welcome to Module 2B. Now, in this module, we're going to consider the importance of networking. Now, I hope you finished your homework. In Module 2A, you were asked to put your idea on paper, which is a very, very important step. Now, we're going to consider, why is it important to do some networking? Maybe you've never done that before, but it's something you'll need to do if you want to be an entrepreneur. And it starts right now. Even though your business is not up and running, you can still start networking today. Now, why? Why is it important for someone to network? Well, when you network with different people, you can bounce ideas, right? Like indiscreetly, you don't really have to mention to them that you have a business in mind, but just mention some of the ideas and listen to what they have to say in regards to your ideas. And so by doing that, you'll have some ideas from them. So it'll help you actually clarify really what you want to do. And also, while you're networking with people and you're trying to explain what you like to do, you can see if they understand really what you're saying. And if they don't understand, well, maybe it's because your idea is not clear in your mind. So that's another advantage of networking. Now, while you're networking at the beginning, it's not really the place to seek customers right away because you don't have a product yet. You don't have a service yet. Maybe you do, but it's still not honed the way you want it. But by doing networking, you might find potential customers in the future, yeah, but also suppliers or people that could help you, maybe an accountant. So people that could actually help you in your business. Also, by networking, when you're explaining clearly to someone what you want to do, it's almost like you're practicing what we call your elevator speech. Now, what is an elevator speech? Well, let's say you're on the 10th floor of a big building and you're coming down, you're going up, and somebody's in the elevator with you, and that person asks you, just kind of want to do some conversation. So what do you do for a living? Well, you only have like a minute or maybe 30 seconds to explain to them what you do. What are you going to tell them? Let's say someone asks you, okay, so what's your business? And you only have 30 seconds to talk to them. What are you going to say? So by networking, it actually helps you to prepare what we call your elevator speech. Now, a good place to start your networking would be go to your local Chamber of Commerce. You can go online and see where it is or what time they meet or what meetings they have. And go there and just look around. I mean, you might feel a bit strange because maybe your first time you're there, you might not know anybody, but hey, that's all right. Go there and talk to some people, start networking. You can also use social media, such as Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, or other platforms to start also networking. Or maybe in some instances, depending on your type of business, on different types of forums, you could go to start networking with different people. Now, one of the reasons why it's also important to network is because you're going to be an ambassador for your company, for your product or service. So you have to start preparing to be an ambassador, to represent really your product or your service. Because people, when they think about your product or service, are going to think about you, and that's what you want. You want people to get to know you. Now, I'd like to close this little module here by talking about one of my past students who's actually now a friend. And he comes from another country, from outside of Canada. And when he arrived at the first year at the college where I work, I saw that he had potential to be an entrepreneur. So I encouraged him to do something. But what he did really was very, very crucial for his business. He started networking, getting involved in the community, because he was from away. He was from another country. Nobody knew him. But now in Moncton, a lot of people know him. And he's actually started a company that's going on really well. And he just started another organization recently that seems to be going very well. But the factor that really helped him to get some success is that he got involved. He got to know people around him. He really networked very well. And he learned English. He was from a French-speaking country. He learned English. And now he's doing very well. So just to wrap up, why is it important for you to start networking today? Well, it'll help you get your idea even clearer, bounce off ideas with different people. That's one thing. It'll help you prepare your elevator speech. It also, you might even through that get some contacts for someone to be your supplier or to help you in your business. It'll help you to be an ambassador, to represent really the company you want to start. So those are just some of the advantages of you to start networking today. Hi, and welcome to Module 3A. Finally, we have arrived where you're going to create your business plan. Now, I've asked you in the past, in the other videos, to note a lot of things in regards to what will your business look like, what type of product or service you want to offer. Now, how are you going to differentiate yourself from someone else? So in this video, I'd like to talk about that. So how are you going to differentiate yourself from another competitor, or how is your offer going to be different than somebody else? So it's very, very important. I know you've done it before, but here we're going to hone it again. So what is your product? What is your service? I hope that the exercise you did in the other module is helping you to understand, okay, well, my product is this and not that. This is very, very important to seize that this is what I'm offering. To be very clear in your mind. Because others could be offering something that's similar, like a competitor could be offering something that's very, very similar to what you're doing. But how do you differentiate yourself from them? Have you thought about that? Are you just another coffee shop, for instance, just offering coffee? Now, I'm going to get to that there in a few minutes in regards to coffee shop. Now, by doing this, by focusing on what product or service you want to offer, this is helping you in what we call branding. So basically branding is how people will know you for what? How are you different from your competitor? Now, this is part of branding. Now, one thing is very important, and I've mentioned it before, is to focus on a certain clientele, for instance. I know some people think, well, I'm going to offer something, a product or service, and everybody's going to buy what I have to offer. Well, that's not necessarily true. Even if you would be selling bread and milk, not everybody buys the type of bread even, and milk. So don't think that everybody's going to buy your product. So basically, who is going to buy your product? Now, let's say I go back to the coffee analogy. Now, I don't know about you, but I drink a lot of coffee. I don't know if you've been to many coffee shops. I like to go in a coffee shop and try to find what's different here. Well, how are they different? I know that, Tim Hortons across Canada and even Starbucks are pretty well the same across Canada. There might be some differences in decor or whatever, but the offering is pretty well the same across Canada. I like to go to those unique mom and pop coffee shop that are very different. A few months ago, I was in Montreal and I visited some coffee shops there, and it was very, very, very unique. It's even the anti-cafe type of coffee shop. Tim Hortons and Starbucks, they offer coffee. I understand that Starbucks offers some coffee that's a bit more expensive, but at the base, it's coffee beans, right? And if we go right at the base for the coffee bean, there's not a big difference as far as cost per kilo. Some coffees, yes, but most coffees is pretty well the same. Now, what differentiates McDonald's, Tim Hortons, and Starbucks? Well, it's not the coffee itself, but it's the experience going to that coffee shop. Now, McDonald's has stepped on the bandwagon maybe the last 10 years in regards to coffee shop. Now it's a big seller at McDonald's. As a kid, I never thought that I would go to McDonald's to buy a coffee, that McDonald's would be like a coffee shop, but it is now. There's a big market for that. So the McDonald's, they cater to a certain type of clientele. The Tim Hortons, a different type of clientele. And the same thing for Starbucks and the Second Cups and the other people. So they understood, okay, well, who is my client? What's my client's profile? What product am I going to offer for this client? Understand? Like, for instance, at Tim Hortons, the variety of coffee is pretty limited. Now they've just came out with the darker coffee for people who would like that. But at Starbucks, for instance, you have all types and even all price range. So their offer is very, very different. Now, when someone is clear in their mind in regards to the product or service that they're offering, it helps a lot. Let's say you got to go to the bank and get some money. And when you're clear in your mind, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do like this guy or that company. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on that. I believe there's a niche in that. There's some money to be made. Well, your argument will be stronger if you're clear in your mind. So in your business plan, one of the first parts is actually defining your product or service. So I hope the readings in this module, in this video, and also the link in this module will help you to define really what your product or service is. Hi, and welcome to Module 3B, Defining Your Market. In Module A, in 3A, we talked about defining your product. And we used the illustration of the coffee shop quite a bit. Now, because it's easy and a lot of people drink coffee, right? And we mentioned that Tim Hortons serves one type of coffee to a certain type of clientele, and Starbucks and other coffee shops, they offer a different type of product to different types of clientele. So when it comes to defining your market, it's very, very important for you to understand what is a market. Now, traditionally, a market is a place where the seller and the buyer, they meet. It could be today even a virtual market like Kijiji or eBay. Most markets are a place where you go and you want to buy something and somebody is there to offer something. Now, if you have something in mind, a product or a service, you have to understand now what market wants your product or service. And you also have to understand who else is offering a similar product or service as you. So that really defines the market. Who are those who are offering the same thing you are? And who are those that want what you have to offer? Now, one question you'll have to ask yourselves is, how many would want what you have to offer? Some people might say, oh, well, everybody will want what I offer. Well, that's not necessarily true. Some people, let's say, can't afford what you offer. Other people, they're not interested at all. It's not according to their preferences or tastes. So you have to define that. Not everybody will want your product or service. Well, how many will want that? Now, if your product or service is something that is very expensive, well, that limits you. So you'll have less people, less population around you that will want your product. That is not bad in itself, but you'll have to remember not everybody maybe can afford what you're offering. And you'll have to ask yourself this question: do people like what you offer? Or do they have a preferences for that? Yes or no? Now, you'll have to study a bit of your what we call demographic or socio-demographics statistics around you. So how many people? What is the median salary, average salary in your region? You can get that information quite easily online. Statistics Canada and other places will be able to give you that information. So it's very important for you to study that, because that will have to be included in your business plan. So you can really quantify. That's what we're getting at here. Quantify really your market. That is to say, how many people could buy your product? Are they able, of course, to buy your product? How much salary do they have? So it's very, very important for you to quantify your market. And also in the sense of geography, like where. Are you limited only for your region, like your city or your province? Or are you planning to sell across Canada or internationally? Those are other things that you'll have to identify as far as your market. So how small or big is your market? Let's say you want to open up a barbershop. Of course, you can't do it internationally because it's a service that is offered in a locality. So your radius around you is quite small, maybe 20 to 30 kilometers at best, but more likely like 5 to 10 kilometers. So those are all things that you'll need to think about and put into your business plan. Now, if this is well done, if ever you need some financing and you go to the bank and your product is well defined and your market is well defined, the people at the bank will really like you and they'll say, oh, he knows, she knows where they're going. So it's very important to be able to define not only your product or service, but also your market. Thank you for watching. Hi, and welcome to Module 4A. Now, we're asking this question, what now? Now, in Module 3, you started, or maybe you finished your business plan, and you might be asking the question, well, what should I do now? Well, what you should do, if you haven't done it yet, is to try your product. So let's say you have this wonderful bread recipe. I hope you have tried it before. So basically did it and then ask some of your friends to try it out. Now, one thing that you need to do more than just try it out is to really ask them the question, is it good? Because sometimes, oh yeah, they'll say, yeah, it's good, the bread is good. But you really have to ask them to give you some critique on the bread. Could you do something different with it? And by doing that, you might get some ideas on maybe other product or how to improve your product. Now, if it's a service that you're offering, I don't know, maybe you like to make nails. Well, maybe you've done some before for your friends, but you have to ask them the question, am I doing something wrong? Is it right? What I'm doing, the way I'm doing it, my service? Ask some good friends to give you some critique, to try it out. Now, in some instances, you'll have to build a prototype, and it might cost some money to do it. But it's better for you to invest in a prototype. It might cost you $100 or even $1,000 to do a prototype, or maybe even more. But think about it. It's better to invest in that prototype, to try it out, than to invest all your time and some money, and at the end it won't really work. So it's very important for you to try your product out. And maybe after the trial, like I've mentioned, you might have to modify your business plan accordingly. So it's very important at this stage, now you have your business plan in hand or it's on its way to be done, give it a try. Try your product and try your service. It'll give you some confidence that what you're doing is good. Hi, and welcome to Module 4C, Opening Your Business. Now, this is a very important module, and maybe for you, you're a bit nervous and for this section or opening up your own company. And maybe you're thinking, well, is it difficult? Well, it's not that difficult, actually. I'm going to give you a few tips and a few things that you'll need to do in order for you to open up your own companies. It's a very, very important step. Now, you'll also have to do many decisions in this process. The first big decision is actually choosing your name, the name of your company, choosing a good name. Now, there are many ways you can go about doing it. I highly recommend that you take a piece of paper, jot down some names, just brainstorm, ask your friends. Be careful when you ask your friends because they might think it's a great name, but it's not really a good name. It's not something that you like. So just write it down, write those names down, do a bit of research on Google, pick 2 or 3, then look at it and think about it, maybe sleep on it. And after, you have to pick the name that you would like to have. Now, after that, you're not done because you have to validate, you have to make sure that you can use that name. So there are organizations that will do name search for you. I'm going to give you some links below in this course. And what you do, you submit your name. Now, what they're going to do, they're going to search in New Brunswick, Canada, and even internationally to confirm that you can use that name, that it is a name that you can use, that nobody else is using that name. I remember a few years ago, over 10 years ago, when I registered one of my companies, I did this, and it came back that a company in Australia had a similar name to mine. It was not identical, but it was similar. I was quite surprised because I thought my name was a bit unique. I had created actually a word for that company, but it happens that somebody in Australia had a similar name, but it was not a problem for me because I'm not operating and I don't plan on operating in Australia. So once that's done, then you have the paperwork that certifies that you can use that name. Then you have to register that name to the province of New Brunswick. So this will probably cost you under $100 to do this step. It's a very important step. So you register. Now, when you register, one thing that's very important is to understand that there are different types of legal structures for businesses. Now, I don't have time to go into depth in this module and to talk about the differences of the legal structures, the pros and the cons, the advantages and disadvantages. There are links below in this course that will show you the differences and the advantages and disadvantages from different types of legal structure. Because if I do it on this module, it'll take quite a long while and you might be bored by the end of it. Now, just to give you a little glimpse, you could register your name, your company under sole proprietorship. That is that you are the only owner of the company, or a partnership, or corporation, or cooperative. So there are different types of legal structures. So check out that link. Go and do some research. Make sure you do some research in the Canadian context, because in Europe or in the States, it would be different. So choosing the proper legal structure for your company is a very important step. Now, another thing, if you're planning on making more than $30,000 in sales in your first year of operation, I'm not talking about profit, I'm talking about sales. Not what you're going to make, but sales. If you're planning on doing more than $30,000 in sales, you'll have to get a GST number. And at that point, you'll be able to charge your customer GST, and you'll be able to get the GST back from items you have purchased for your business to resell, for instance. Now, if you've done an accounting course, you know how it works. You charge GST, you pay GST, and the balance you have to give back to the government. So if you're planning on making more than $30,000, you'll have to get the GST number from that's federal, that's not provincial. Now, also, if you're planning on having employees, you'll have to get also a number for source deduction, that is EI, CPP, income taxes. So if you're planning on having employees to work for you, you'll also have to get that number. It's quite quick. You just go online and you register your company with the federal government, and then they'll send you the paperwork for that. So it's quite easy. It'll take you maybe a few hours to do all that. Another thing that's very important is licenses. So let's say you're opening up a coffee shop. You have to make sure that you have the proper licenses in order to operate a coffee shop. So do your research, ask the good folks in the province or even federally what licenses you need to operate your company. So make sure on that end is correct. So what we've talked about is choosing a good name, registering your name, make sure it's a good name that you can use. You're choosing your legal structure for your company. If you're planning on making more than $30,000 a year in sales, you'll have to get a GST number. If you're planning to have employees, then you'll have to have that number for source deduction, EI, CPP, and income tax, and also your licenses if you need a license to operate your company. Now, it might sound like a lot of things that you need to do. I'm going to supply a lot of links below, like in this course, that you can click, you can read, do your own research. It's quite easy to navigate through this system. So I hope you appreciated this module. We'll see you in the next module. Thank you. Hi, and welcome to Module 4D, Promotion. Now, I do realize that much information has been given to you, and you have a lot of things to think about. But it's very important for you to go through this the material that has been suggested in the prior module. Now, in this module, we're going to consider the importance of promoting now your business. So now your business plan has been done. You did a trial maybe, or you're going to do one, and you're on your way to creating your business and making people known of what you're doing. Now, there are many things that I'm going to say that are very, very important for you to do when you're starting your business, because people need to know that you exist. People need to know your product and your service. Now, the first thing that I would highly recommend you to do is to create a business card. Now, it's quite easy to do that. You can go online and do it yourself, or you can ask someone in your area to create a business card for you, a logo. It's very important for you to make sure that it looks good. Now, typically, I don't like to promote any company per se in these videos, but there's a company that it's hard not to promote it. I've used it in the past, and actually, I don't know how they managed to do business so cheaply. It's called Vista Print. So if you Google Vista Print, you'll see that one of the things they do is business cards. They also do brochures and banners and other things. And it's not expensive at all. For under $40, you'll be able to get some business cards for you quite quickly. So I highly recommend that you use them. But if you can use somebody locally, that also I highly encourage you to do it. Now, another thing that it's very important for you to do is to start your social media presence. And one way you can do that quite easily is to create a Facebook page. Now, you have to be aware that there's a difference between a personal Facebook page and a business Facebook page. So it's important for you when you start one that you use the business one. While creating it, it'll ask you is it for personal or for business, and it'll ask you what type of business you have also. If you're not familiar with Facebook, you're not sure how to do it, I'm sure there's someone in your family or someone you know that can help you do this. And then you can start posting images of your product or services on your Facebook page and invite some of your friends to like your page. So that's one way to get people to know what you're doing, what products or service you're offering. Now, another thing that's very important is for you to have your own email address for your business. It's very important for you to separate your personal matters with your business. And you can use, for instance, Gmail. The Google platform is very good for businesses. I would recommend that you use Gmail. You could put your business name at gmail.com. for instance, and put that Gmail on that email on your business card. Now, another thing also I highly recommend is for you to open up a YouTube channel for your business. Now, you can do your video yourself if you have a smartphone. And now they have quite sophisticated video equipment on those smartphones. You can do that or ask a friend to do it. A short video, 2 or 3 minutes, and you could explain to people what product or service you're offering. You can also show them, let's say you're opening up a restaurant or a coffee shop. You can do a little video of your coffee shop, post it online, your menu, or maybe what you're selling already has a video there. You can add it to your channel. You can use that to do the promotion for your product or service for your business. Now, another thing is for you to make a good flyer. You could use Vistaprint for that. You could do it yourself, for instance, with Microsoft Publisher, or even you could use Word for that. You could hire someone to do it. It's very important for it to be clear, concise. Make sure the corrections is well written. Also, it looks crisp. So if you're not familiar with how to do a flyer, that I highly suggest that you hire someone to do it. It's not that expensive for a startup, for a company, just to do a basic flyer, so you can leave here and there, so people might be able to know what type of business you're offering. Now, let's say you're doing a sign for your business. Make sure that you spend enough money on your sign. I've seen signs that are done for businesses. I ask myself, wow, why did they do that? It doesn't promote their business well. It's very important that everything that people will see about your business, that is your business card, your Facebook page, your flyer, your sign, that it looks good and it looks professional. That is, it'll reflect really who you are and what type of business you want to work. You want to promote to people, or the image you want to show. So it's very important for it to be done very well. So don't cheap out on the sign, that's for sure. As far as other social media platforms, there's Instagram also. There's Etsy Shop, if you've never heard of that before. Etsy Shop. There's Shopify also. If you want to do your own website, there's like Wix, W-I-X website. That is fairly cheap and easy to do your own website. If you're familiar more with computers, you can use WordPress or ask someone to do it. So those are all things that you'll have to consider to do to promote your business. There are many videos on YouTube that you can look, you can consider for all like social media platform, how to do. There's a lot of information out there, but I highly recommend that you do some of the things I mentioned here. It'll be very beneficial for your business. Thank you. Hi, and welcome to Module 4E, and we're going to call this one Step by Step. I'm going to give you a few advices. Now, my approach has been throughout this course and all the module is like if I'm your coach and you're right beside me and I'm giving you some advice. So that has been my approach in all this course. And I'm going to give you a few advices here. You'll have more later on, but just we'll give you a few ones right here. The first one I'd like to give you is don't feel pressured that you have to get everything done like right away. Like you got to get your company up and running like tomorrow. Maybe you have some pressure because you need some money right away, but don't feel too pressured on getting your company up and going like tomorrow or today. You have to do it step by step, do it right. So that's very important to do things right. Don't miss any good steps, like picking a good name or registering your company or things that we've talked about in other modules, in other videos. So it's very important for you to do things right. Don't feel too pressured. And reflect also on what you are doing. So, because what happened, I'm like that sometimes. I have a great idea, and today I'm all gung ho and let's go, let's do it. But when I reflect on it tomorrow, it's like, oh, I don't have the same energy that I had the day before. So, reflect on what you are doing, do it patiently and step by step. So have patience. Maybe your company has been registered, you have your business card in hand, your business plan is all done. Then you're starting your business, or you will be starting your business, and then you have your Facebook page and people are liking it, but sales aren't coming right away. Be patient. Sales will come if you have a good product. People are looking for that product. You have a good service. Some sales will come. Be very persistent and very patient in the beginning. That's very, very important. Maybe some people will try to discourage you. Are you sure you're doing the right thing? Maybe you should do it this way, or you're spending too much time doing this or that. But you've spent a lot of time thinking about this business. Maybe it's something it's been in your mind for weeks, months and years. And it's a passion of yours, a dream of yours. People don't see all of that. They don't see all the work behind it, all your reflection, all you've done, people you've met. They don't really maybe understand your product or service. So if some people are trying to discourage you, don't be discouraged too quickly. Now, you'll have some difficult times. All businesses in the first 5 years, they have somewhat difficult times. Some companies more than others, but you'll have tough times. Just go through them. That'll test you for sure. One thing that I can say, it's not that you win or lose in certain circumstances, but rather you win or learn. So take those hard times and learn from them. What can I do differently next time? So if you have difficult times and different aspects, customers or products or whatever, use that situation to learn from it, and in order for you to be better the next time. So I hope these advice will help you. Like I mentioned, other advice will come in another module. Thank you. Hi, and welcome to Module 5A. In this module, we'll be discussing the importance to have a coach. Now, I'm going to give you a few advice in regards to picking a good coach to help you through your ups and downs and starting your business. Now, it's very important to have a coach, someone you can talk to about business. Now, there's some criteria that's very important, because don't forget, this person, you'll be growing with them, the business, and you will be growing with them with this coach. So it's very important to pick a good coach. Now, for some of the criteria you should look for is somebody that you respect, one, and also someone that has some success. Because you can ask your broke brother-in-law for advice, and he might give you some advice, or someone that thinks that they had success before. But make sure you choose someone that you respect, and that someone also that has a measure of success in the past, and even someone that has gone through some hard times, because you'll be able to gather from them some good information. Now, if you don't know anybody, there are some organizations that do exist that will help you to find a business coach for your type of business. Now, when you sit with him, I highly encourage that you do spend some good time with them at the beginning. You have to have a good attitude. And also, you have to be honest with them. Let's say you've been doing your business for a few months and sales aren't there, there's some issues. Don't try to pretend that everything is okay. Sometimes someone could do that in front of your friends. They ask you, so how's your business going? You'll say, oh, it's going great. But inside, you know it's not really going great. But with your coach, don't say it's going great if it's not. Be frank and honest with them. Tell them, no, well, I have problems with this and I have problem with that. Now, if they can't help you, maybe they can guide you to someone that can help you. So it's very important to be frank and honest with them. And also accept some critics from them. They might tell you, well, do you think it's a good thing that you're doing this way? Be prepared to accept some critics. Some of us have a hard time accepting critiques And sometimes they might be wrong because they don't really understand your business, but still listen to them and you might be able to glean some good points in what they're saying, good pointers. So have a good attitude, accept some critics, be frank and honest with them if they ask you a question, and make sure that you pick a coach that you respect and someone that has a proven track record that he had some success. So that's it for this module, and I'll see you in the next module. Hi, welcome to Module 5B. Now, I'm well aware that it seems that I'm repeating myself, and I am. And it's a bit on purpose, because I really want to highlight the importance of this fact, like we talked about it before, the importance of making yourself known through networking. Now, I don't know how long it has been since you started this course. If it's been a few weeks, I hope that you've already started to network. That is to make people known of your intention of going in business or what your business is or whatever. So it's very, very, very important for you to network. And I do realize that some of you might be a bit shy by nature and don't know where to start. Well, there are many places where you can start. You can go to 5 to 7. You got some business meetings. Ask around to some some business people and say, look, is there a place where I can go to kind of network with some people? Is there an event going on? And make sure you have some business cards with you and that your idea is clear in your mind. But it's very, very, very important. Because as you network, what you're doing actually, you're working on your business image. So the way people will perceive your business. So that's why it's very important to work at it and get out of your comfort zone and network. Now, there are other ways that you can make yourself known. Let's say your business has been going on for a few months or a year or so. There might be a local paper that would be very interested to know what you're doing. They want to encourage young entrepreneurs or in their areas, entrepreneurs in their area. If they haven't asked you, maybe you can kind of send them an email